Hello and welcome to Good Morning UK Have Your Say, a Force for Good's mid-morning show coming to you live from our nerve centre here in the heart of the great British city of Glasgow with me, your host, Alistair McConnachie. Welcome to our 43rd show broadcasting across all our platforms on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube and on TikTok, and good to see folk coming in from all of those places. Especially there, straight in was Debbie. Good morning to you, Debbie, and nice to see you here, and nice to see Alan, and good morning also to Barry, and to Tommy, and to Frankie, and to Kenny, and to David, and to Andrew, and Catherine. Hope you're well, Catherine, and to Christine, who's viewing from the border region, and also Marilyn coming in there, and Cornaldo on TikTok. Hello to you, and Big Phxrma, and Shami 1888, and good numbers there. Good morning to you, Frankie. This is a Force for Good's mid-morning show. Now we're going to speak about what's been happening this week. Good morning to Kenny from the Highlands. And this week, yesterday, Nicola Sturgeon announced grandly that she did not intend to make life even more difficult for the people of Scotland right now than what she's already made it. And I'll talk about that in a moment, because I was in town on Saturday and the whole experience of going into a bar has changed, and not for the better, I might add. So I was in the centre of Glasgow, the great British city of Glasgow, around about midday, and about 2:30 myself and a colleague thought, let's go to a pub. Okay, now we were right in the centre there in Buchanan Street, so we went up to the door at Waxy O'Connor's, and the bloke on the door goes, do you have a booking? Right, now this is 2:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday. Now who in the right mind makes a booking for a pub? You know, you don't do that. You might make a booking for a restaurant at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night or something like that. You don't make a booking for a table in a pub at 2:30 in the afternoon. What are you meant to do? Are you meant to like phone up and go, oh, excuse me, could I book a table please for me and my mate? We might be arriving at probably sometime between 2 and 4:15. Could you like book us a table there specially for us? And if there is a spare chair at the next table, could you go up to the people at that table and could you say to them, excuse me mate, is this chair taken? And if they say no, help yourself, then could you like shuffle it over to our table that I've booked between 2 and 4:30, just in case my other mate arrives? That would be really good. Could you do that? Or what's my name? Yeah, Joe Blogs. I mean to say, that's absurd. So we didn't have a booking, so we couldn't get in, so we sat outside, which was fine as it happened. But I mean to say, that's just completely absurd. And if that's the way that it's going, it's not a good way to go, because that's just that's so regimented that it's beyond really anything that makes sense at all. So what she was going to do, of course, was going to make it illegal to get in to a place like that at all, unless you had your passport, unless you had the appropriate papers. And so she's decided that, not because she's got her best interests at heart, but because she obviously thought, well, it's Christmas time and I could get maybe some trouble here from the pubs and the hospitality industry, and so I'll not go down that particular route for now. But beware, that is going to be coming. The Fire Blaster says, could you book me a table? Well, if you're good conversation, maybe we possibly could. Good morning to Bill and to Sandra, who says the whole COVID thing is absurd. No compliance. That's right. If more people didn't comply, then it would be a lot better. The thing is, what they do, they get you over a barrel. They say you can't go to enjoy what you want to enjoy. Like, you can't go to a football game unless you've been vaccinated and unless you've got your papers. And it's, for most people, it's very, very difficult for them to say, do you know what, to hell with all of that, I'm going to become a monk. You know, no, people are being nudged into it, often against their best interests, and it's fascinating to see how the system is doing that to us and how it's controlling us. And we're all vulnerable. I mean, we are all vulnerable to being controlled in that way, to being micromanaged by the state to an extent I would never have believed 2 years ago, but now I see how easy it is. We all see how easy it is to actually control the population, or when you hold out a carrot to them and you say you can't get the carrot unless you've done this or that, unless you've pulled the wagon sufficiently far up the hill. So TikTok 87 says, up the union. Good man, good man. That's the kind of attitude that we like to hear. Binder Dundat says SNP removed the local police force and centralised it. Yes, they did, and they did that before 2014 because Alex Salmond was clever, because he thought, I want to be in charge of the police in case I win the referendum and everything goes to pot. Fedora says, what's going on as far as all of this sort of thing is concerned? Good question. You know, that's the whole question. Is it a conspiracy, or is it just like a complete mess up? Have the politicians just driven themselves into a corner, or is it a combination of both? Or is it a combination of both and lots of other interest groups are taking advantage of the chaos? It's probably the third option as far as I can see. Sandra says, the more they insist on having the V, the more I resist. The world has lost its collective mind. What is really going on? And you see, that's, everybody's asking that, what is going on, because it doesn't make sense to us. It doesn't make sense to any of us. So we try to find answers wherever we possibly can. Catherine says there's no masks at work and everything's back to normal in England, but here in Scotland businesses are being ruined. That's so true. And Kenny makes a good point. He says all the season book holders that aren't vaccinated in Scottish football should club together and sue for the price of their season books. They should if they had the leadership to do that. And the football players themselves should refuse to play as well, but maybe they're caught into contracts or something like that. But I mean, if I was a football player on zillions of pounds a year, you know, I would be set for life, and so I'm not going to really be too bothered about losing my job. So I would like to see some high-profile players come up and say, we're standing for the fans who can't get in because the state is discriminating against them. That would be good to see. Football managers as well, where are they? There's people who have voices who don't say anything. You know, they're keen to tell us to do this, that, or the next thing, but they're not keen to stand up for the common sense. I'm not having a go at football as such, that's just the obvious example, but whoever you are, if you've got a position of authority in society, and your customers or fans or whoever they may be are being discriminated against, if a significant proportion of them are being discriminated against, then you should stand up and make a name for yourself. And it's easily done if you've got the courage. And I know there are many people out there who have got the courage, and hopefully they're just waiting for the right moment to stand up and speak against this, what's been called medical apartheid. Well, Jim says there, in the spring and summer, we need to show our distaste to Sturgeon and her cronies outside the Assembly by weekly protests. There's a thought. There's a thought. And Kenny says it's just all about controlling the people. And that is a good point. Once the politicians realise that they can control you, then they are likely just to keep doing it. They're likely just to keep doing it. Well, Kenny says something interesting there. He says half the players are unvaccinated. That's hopeful to hear. And Chris says he doesn't have a problem with Chris says, I have no problem with being vaccinated, but I have a big problem with proving my status to bars and restaurants, etc. And Debbie says she had the first one, but she didn't have the second one. But people think it is... Most of us will survive without it. Of course, as somebody said, if you don't take the vaccine, you're 99.8% protected against suffering badly from COVID. And if you don't take it, you're also 100% protected against any of the problems that might occur as a consequence. Yeah. Okay, Catherine's got to go to work, and she will catch up later. And of course, this will be broadcast on... it's continuing to be broadcast on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, and you can catch up with it at any time of the week. We've got a quiz coming up at the top of the hour. As always, at the top of the hour, which will be for our fantastic pens, our Union Jack pens. A pack of 3 of these will be coming to you, the winner of our competition, at the top of the hour. And while we're still on this matter, Frankie says, we were told you only needed 2, and of course now they're telling you that you need a 3rd, and in 6 months' time you'll need a 4th, and 6 months' time after that you'll need a 5th, because this is just a money spinner for these big pharma companies who cannot believe their luck in being able to convince all the governments of the world to vaccinate people for this particular matter. So I'm just looking here about that. Martin says, is the pen at sea? If not, it's a Union flag. Well, we've heard that before. We don't agree with that. It's a Union Jack, which is a phrase that can be used to describe the flag at land and at sea. Jovi Girl 33 says, can you give me a reason that we're better off in the Union? Yes, I can give you 57 reasons, and we'll put up the link there on Facebook. Our 57 reasons for the Union. And these are just anything ranging from financial to economic to cultural to social. We put together 57. We thought that was a good British word. British number, 57 varieties, as it were. Madison Adams says, if you turn down the vaccine... Oh gosh, no, we don't. I'm afraid we don't go along with that thought. Paul says, my wife had both jabs and a booster and then got COVID 2 weeks ago. Still can't taste anything, so what's the point? Indeed. What's the point? It doesn't stop you catching it and it doesn't stop you spreading it. And so what that means is it's not a vaccine. And that's one of the tricks that they've played, is that they've called it a vaccine when it does nothing that a vaccine actually does. So we shouldn't really be calling it that. I don't know what a better word is for it, but it's obviously not a vaccine as we've traditionally come to understand the concept. And of course, as John points out here, it was supposedly created in 9 months. Again, rushed through for an emergency. And when they do that, they don't make proper. They don't do it carefully enough. They don't do the tests properly enough. And I used to be a natural health therapist, and there's been cases that I can tell you about, but I won't really get into them just now, of people dying not from the disease in the past, but from whatever medical treatment was rushed through. That was certainly big in the 80s and 90s when they brought in AZT to so-called treat AIDS, and in fact people died of the drug. They didn't die of the actual HIV virus. That's a big story. That's a big story that's never been properly explained, for obvious reasons. There's too many people have got too much to lose as far as that one is concerned. Jordan Penn says he's remaining unvaccinated but must take a rapid antigen test twice a week for work. Yes, a lot of people are in that situation where they have to do that for their work. I have got a whole box of test kits through there, which I was in Central Station one day, and there was these 2 women from NHS Scotland or whatever. They were just giving them out. So I haven't opened them or looked at them, but I'm going to test my iron brew on them, and I'm sure it will test positive. And I told that those 2 women, like, they're just giving them away free. Just take a box full of these LFT tests, I think they call them. So I haven't even opened the box yet, but I just took one out of interest. I took a box out of interest, and I also gave the woman who gave it to me a piece of my mind, because one of the women there was just doing her job. You know, she didn't know anything. But the one that was in charge was a real nasty piece of work, and I gave her a piece of my mind, and I told her who she was working for and how she was just perpetuating this whole crisis, which will go on forever until people reject it out of hand. Anyway, and yeah, put it up your nose, putting it up your nose, which goes right up to close to the brain orbital, to the bone and so on, that encloses the brain. You don't want to be putting anything up there, I can assure you. It's certainly not in little children either. Oh gosh. And Sandra there says, we were told at the start of this nonsense that the vast majority of people would survive this and it would never go away like flu. It will be with us always. Yes. Time to stop all this. Back to normal now. Goodness me, let us hope that voices will arise in politics who will bring us back to normal, because we can't go down the way that Australia and New Zealand and Canada are going. Oh my, don't even get me started on all of those countries. These used to be countries that we considered part of the Anglosphere. That is, we considered that they were part of the British constitutional and democratic tradition, which values liberty, which values free speech, which values the freedoms and rights of the individual to do what the individual prefers to do outside of being dominated by the state. And all of that has just gone with the wind. And I'm going to have to put together an article on this, because it really does say to me that I think Britain is the last stronghold for common sense. And I think if this is to be turned around, it's going to have to be Britain that does it, because the other English-speaking countries have sold their soul, as it were. They've almost sold their soul, and it is Britain that has the cultural tradition and the constitutional and democratic tradition which can stand against this. Something that is key to our Unionist understanding. What do I mean by that? Okay, let me explain. Some of us hold to the idea of British liberty, okay? Yet too many in the British Parliament and also in Scotland are being elected without any sort of consciousness, without any sense of cultural tradition about our constitution and our democratic history of promoting liberty and freedom and the rights of the individual. Because Britain, the whole idea of personal liberty is being shut down, especially in the Anglosphere, in Australia and New Zealand and Canada. And that's appalling, and it's shameful. But these countries' traditions came from our British radical constitutional tradition, which can be seen as a struggle over hundreds and hundreds of years for liberty and for democracy. And we have got in our past many elements which show over time we have fought for the rights of the individual, including, of course, the important abolitionist movement as well. And also, as part of our music and song tradition as well, we've got these characters of liberty and freedom. For example, here in Scotland, our most famous song, Scotland the Brave. Okay, not Scotland the meek and mild, not Scotland the weak, but Scotland the brave. Not Scotland the land of the fearful, but Scotland the land of the brave, land of the high endeavour, land of my heart forever. That's a cultural tradition which speaks to our national character. And so it's about being brave. Being British is about being brave. And it's about being free. It's about land of hope and glory, mother of the free. How shall we extol thee who are born of thee? So it's about being brave, and it's about being free. And it's also about not being slaves, not being enslaved. Rule Britannia. Britannia rule the waves. Britons never shall be slaves. So it's about being brave, it's about being free, it's about not being a slave, and it's about standing up to tyrants. In that same song, Rule Britannia, there's a line, the nations not so blessed as thee must in their turn to tyrants fall, while thou shalt flourish great and free. And so it's about being brave, it's about being free, it's about not being slaves, it's about standing up to tyrants, and it's also about the idea of service to one's country, which is in the song, I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above, entire and whole and perfect, the service of my love. So these are elements in our cultural tradition which speak to our national character, about who we are. We're brave, we're free, we're not slaves, we stand up to tyrants, and we devote ourselves to service of the country and to others. And if we can get back to those things, then we would chuck out so many politicians who are the exact opposite of that, who are in fact trying to dominate us and make us less free. And how can we sum it up? You know, I was watching a program on the internet the other night, and somebody quoted Charles Dickens, of course, great British novelist, and I'm going to quote it as well. It's the opening paragraph of one of his books, A Tale of Two Cities. That's it. It's the opening paragraph of A Tale of Two Cities. And he says in it, It was, and this I think speaks to where we are at the moment, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, but we had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. That speaks to the ridiculous situation that we are in just now, and also it tells us that we've been here before during Charles Dickens' time as well, when he was talking there about the French Revolution in his book A Tale of Two Cities, which must have been a horrific, horrific time for everybody involved. So I was speaking to somebody the other night, and they said to me, you know, the tunnel is long. The tunnel is very, very long, and we are appearing in darkness just now, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We may not be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's there. This is just a very, very long tunnel, but we will get through it. So that's how I would like to end that particular message of hope to you on that particular matter. Now, we have a competition right now at the top of the hour when I'm going to describe a couple of things that happened on this day in British history. And on this day in British history, today is the 24th of November. And it was on this day, on the 24th of November in 1900, that the Scotsman John Lawson Johnston passed away. Now, what is John Lawson Johnston best known for? He is best known for creating Johnston's fluid beef drink, which does not have the snappiest title, or indeed the most appetizing title, but it's now called Bovril. But when he initially launched it, he called it after himself, Johnston's Fluid Beef. Now, I don't know how successful it was with a name like Fluid Beef, but I suppose back in those days you were grateful for whatever you could possibly get. But anyway, the marketing men came to him and they said to him, drop the Fluid Beef thing and let's just call it Bovril. And I found a really good poster of Bovril on the internet, which I'll just share with you just now. And I really like this one. I like this one. That's British Bull. My place is at the front, says the British Bull to the recruiting sergeants. I hear they want more Bovril. And at the bottom it says British to the backbone. British to the backbone. That's all our wonderful supporters who are British to the backbone. And so that was Johnston and his Fluid Beef. He was born in where was he born? He was born in Roslin, which is just outside Edinburgh, sometime in 1839. And there's a memorial plaque above his door, which is at 29 Main Street, Roslin. So he passed away on this day back in 1900, and another person who passed away on this day in 1991 was a chap called Farrukh Bulsara. Farrukh Bulsara, who was born on the 5th of September 1946 to a Parsi family in Stone Town in the Sultanate of Zanzibar. and his family fled to Britain in 1964 after the Sultan of Zanzibar was overthrown. Now, who, you might wonder, is Furak Bulsara? Well, Furak Bulsara is the great entertainer known to us all as Freddie Mercury, who was the lead singer of Queen, and he passed away on this day, on the 24th of November 1991, and he was cremated at a ceremony led by a Zoroastrian priest at West London Crematorium, where he is commemorated by a plinth under his birth name, Farrukh Bulsara. So he's left us a lot of good music as well. So those were two things that happened on this day in British history, and in a moment I'll ask you a question about that, and the winner will receive three of these Union Jack pens, which can be used at land or sea or even in the air. 3 of these in a little pack coming to you. And while I'm holding things up for the camera, I found this picture which was in the National. Look at that. This was in the National on the 4th of November. I only found it because I was going through a bunch of them which I hadn't read recently. So that's us. That's a Force for Good on Union Street in Aberdeen. And we were counting the Scottish Nationalist March, which passed us by. And of course they were lying about their numbers that they got. Look at our fantastic team. Look how colourful we are. Look how colourful we are. Absolutely great. And you can see our marshals there as well, with their red vests and their red caps. And there's a chap there in the background who is wearing his British Together hoodie, which you can get from our store. And talking about that, we have a 10% discount on our clothing store. So that is running from today until Monday. It's part of the Black Friday sale at this time of year. So if you would like this t-shirt, or we've got lots of others that say Scottish and British, Welsh and British, English and British, British Ulster, British Together, Royal Scots, t-shirts and hoodies, then we'll put the link up there. If you're watching on TikTok, go to our bio where we have a link tree, and if you click on the link tree, our t-shirt and hoodie store is the top link there. Look for Pro UK merch. If you're on TikTok, you'll get that through our link tree, and otherwise on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook, just click on the link which we'll put up into the comments there, and you can get 10% off with the code, which is, I have to tell you the code, it's AFFG 2021. Okay, let me put that up for you. The promo code AFFG 2021, you'll get 10% off our hoodies and our t-shirts up until Monday coming from right now. So head over to our Pro UK merch t-shirt and hoodie store and put that in once you get to the cart. It's the last thing you put in is the promo code, and then it will recalculate it and it will give you the new price with 10% off. So that's a great deal. And do you know what? I'm going to do something amazing here as well. I'm going to put a ticker along the bottom there, and let's keep that ticker just running for the moment. Now, our question to you: if you have the correct answer to the question that I'm about to ask, please send it to contact@aforceforgood.uk. Okay? And the first person off the mark, the first email that lands at contact@aforceforgood.uk will get these three pens, Union Jack pens. And the question is, on this day in 1900, a man passed away, John Lawson Johnston, who invented Johnston's fluid beef. What is Johnston's fluid beef better known as today? That's my question to you. Send your answer to contact@aforceforgood.uk. Fantastic. Madison says he loves his t-shirts. Good stuff. Good stuff, Madison. If you buy one, take a photograph. You know, if anybody buys a t-shirt or a hoodie, take a photograph, and we can use that to sell more as well. So thank you. Don't put the answers in the comments here. Send them to contact@aforceforgood.uk. Thanks very much. Good. Now, Richard has got a philosophical point here which I'm going to read out. The revolutionary strand of the 18th century Enlightenment of creating hell while supposedly seeking heaven has been seen in the French Revolution, the communist and fascist revolutions, and today we have the woke revolutionaries who think that something good will be achieved by tearing everything good down and digging everything good up. That's true. That's true. I had an interview this week. I'll tell you about that just now, because that works in quite well with what Richard just said there. A student who shall remain nameless from a university that shall remain nameless contacted me for work that they were doing for their degree, and we were speaking about the statues and what that means at a deeper level for society and what indeed is going on there. So I had a really good 1-hour interview with this person. They asked some fantastic questions, and we were able to really answer them very, very clearly and well. And one of the things that we pointed out, the person says, are you against the idea of having debates about these things at all? And we were like, no, not at all. In a way, it's good that these things are coming out, but for it to be a good thing, then both parties need to be approaching the debate from a position of good faith. From a position of good faith, not from a position of bad faith. That is to say, they need to be approaching it from an angle that's intended to illuminate, not to obscure, from an angle that is meant to elevate, not to create despair. And sometimes that does happen, but sometimes it's not happening. And a lot of the people who are promoting this statue renaming or the statue taking down, they are actually coming from a position of bad faith where they have an agenda simply to destroy, not because necessarily they're applying their views to the past, but simply they want to destroy the present. They want to overthrow the present. That's a big thing as well. Sometimes you can say, well, are we applying today's standards to these people in the past? And yes, we're maybe doing that. But very often, the people who are taking these statues down are in fact not applying any standard except their own, which is to destroy the present in order to get back to some kind of year zero. To destroy everything that's around them. I saw a terrible thing yesterday about some Thomas Jefferson statue being taken down in New York City. Okay, it's New York City, which is a hive of that sort of attitude. But the people who are doing that, they're not interested in what Thomas Jefferson was thinking about anyway. They just don't like Thomas Jefferson because he was one of the founding fathers of America. That's it. They just want to have a revolution to change America as most of us have come to understand it, and that involves getting rid of the founding fathers and getting rid of all of those elements, regardless of what their position was on slavery or whatever. I saw somebody this morning as well, some woke group was apologising because they had sent out a fundraising email, and they had been talking about the funds that they had raised last week, and that the average that they had raised from each donor was 1492, was it? 14, let me just check this. It was an actual sum. It was an actual sum that they had raised, and it was 1492, and they apologized because they suddenly realized that was actually the year that Columbus discovered the Americas, and so they were like apologetic for that. Sorry if we've offended anybody who didn't like to see the numerals 1492, even though we were talking about simply our average donations, which made me think, if anybody wants to donate to a force for good, £17.07, that would be 1707, which was the year of the Union of the Parliaments. That's a good figure, 1707, or 1603, £16.03. That's commemorating the Union of the Crowns, when James VI, the Scots king, became James VI of Great Britain. Or we could recall to memory 2014, £20.14, which was the year that the pro-UK people overwhelmingly voted to stay in the United Kingdom. So if anybody would like to make that kind of donation, please do so. We'll put the link up there, the one-off link. Binder Dundat says, wiping history will only see the mistakes of the past being repeated. That's so true. Says that on TikTok. Randall says, or 1916, £19.16. Randall, if you would like to donate £19.16 to commemorate the Dublin post office situation, then by all means, please send us that. We'd be very grateful. We'll put it to good work, I can assure you. We actually won in 2014 by 11%, if you go and check the exact figures. Virtually 11%, so that was overwhelming. It wasn't a 50-50 split. Clark, just looking at any comments here. Paul says the Jacobins were behind the French Revolution. Yep. Alan says he's a Unionist 100%. Good. Jordan says, I work in Dundas, Ontario, which was named after Henry Dundas. Dundas forever. Yes. Well, we stood up for Henry Dundas last year when the SNP and BLM people were trying to befoul his memory. They were having a rally on the other side of the park. There was about 150 of them, and there was 40 of us. And we made some very good points, and we gave 3 speeches as well that day. And a lot of that summed up in an article that we wrote called Stand By Our Ancestors. And we'll put the link to that up on our pages there. You can see it at aforceforgood.uk. And that really just describes where we're coming from and all of that, that you have to stand up for your ancestors, the good, the bad, the ugly and the indifferent, because they are your ancestors and you can't really pick and choose your ancestors. Jovi Girl said, you're full of links. We absolutely are. Linking to wisdom. That's what we do. We link to wisdom, because I've only got an hour at the moment to describe things. So very often I have to send people to links to say, do you want to know the real Jen? Sit down, study that, and by the time you've finished it, you'll be older and you'll be wiser as well. And that's great, because we don't like too many words in our articles. We like to keep everything concise and consistent, because there's very often too many words in the world. So we try to, in our written work, we try to keep it as concise as possible. Talking of which, of course, our 40-page magazine is arriving in the office on Friday this week. So we'll have it for next week, and it is free. It's free to all monthly union supporters. Free to all monthly union supporters. And you can become a union supporter by helping us at the link there. On TikTok, go to our link tree and click on Become a Union Supporter. And another little gift that we're giving to our union supporters free, and if you're a union supporter right now, this is our little gift to you, our cards wishing you a glorious British Christmas. A free pack of 5 of these will wing its way to any monthly union supporter that simply asks for it. Okay, so if you're a union supporter, please do send us an email or send us a direct message on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram with your name and address. Don't put it in the comments here. Just send us a direct message or an email. Give us your name and your address, and if you are a monthly union supporter, we'll send you a pack of these free straight away. And these are all the kings and queens in chronological order from Mary and William at the glorious revolution there. And on the back it says, our British monarchs since the glorious revolution of William and Mary, God save the Queen. Okay, so if you're a union supporter, please, you'll get that free. If you're not a union supporter and you'd like a bundle of these anyway, then we'll put the merchandise link up there for you. Fantastic. We've got so many good products in our Teespring store. Promo code 10% off AFFG 2021, and so many good links in products in our website shop as well. And believe me, this is how we keep going. This is how we keep going. And Madison says, I think some people just like to protest, whatever the reason. It's just an excuse. It's the protest that counts. There's certainly a lot of that. There is certainly a lot of that. And we saw that when we were standing up for Henry Dundas last year. The people on the other side of the square didn't really know what was going on about anything, you know. They were just there because it was fashionable. It was fashionable. And that was really the only thing that they were there for. There was only a few bad eggs who actually knew what was going on and who had bad intentions. Yeah, Christopher makes a good point. One of the best books for woke folk and Scottish nationalists to read is Niall Ferguson's Empire, How Britain Made the Modern World. That's a great book. That's a great book. Very easily read, written in very accessible language. A real good story from beginning to end, that one. And I recommend that to anybody. Niall Ferguson's Empire, How Britain Made the Modern World. It's very good. It's very good. Thanks for flagging that up. Ibrox Park says, why don't we donate 1688 or 1689, the day world history changed after the relief of the great British city of Londonderry. That's right, the siege of Londonderry was a great changed world history, didn't it? Because it changed British history, and consequently it ushered in the Union, which would follow a few years later, which of course changed the world for the good, I should say, for the good. Saltness Monster says Dundas has a statue in Comrie. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Frankie likes it. Amazing videos, excellent work. Thank you. And Saltness Monster says something that I totally agree with. The Preston journalist, that Preston journalist, is doing a great job. The SNP is running scared of him. He is on YouTube. We interviewed him a few weeks back. He also interviewed us on his channel a couple of weeks back, and we're looking forward to having him on at Christmas time when we have our Union Telethon, which will be our 10-hour tour de force coming up in December. And so yeah, that Preston journalist, he's a good chap. Twigman likes the show. Brilliant work as always, Alistair, thank you. And so does John, says good vid. Yeah. Thank you to Megan there for putting up the link to our Christmas cards. Lynn says, these glorious cards could really annoy some folk. They possibly could. All the more reason to buy one. Wishing you a glorious British Christmas. All the kings and queens from the glorious revolution. And that in itself is like just a good historical thing to have to know about as well. Paul McDonald says 2021 coming your way. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Paul. Good man. Bill's sending some pro-UK stuff. Where is the link to buy those cards, says Ali Scorpio. Good point. On TikTok, Ali, if you go to the link tree in our bio, okay, and then scroll down to website shop. Website shop is the link in the link tree in our bio. Click on website shop in our link tree and you will get taken to our shop and you'll see the cards there. Thank you for asking that. Cheers, Ali. David says, Robbie says, don't fund AFFG. Well, please do if you're a supporter. If you're not a supporter, don't bother. And S1314 makes a good point to all the Scottish nationalists out there. He says it's not too late to change your mind because you must know you're wrong. Well, I think a lot of the Scottish nationalists are just they don't know the other side of the story, and when they hear the other side of the story, they see how attractive it is, and they become pro-UK people. Irish Model Railway says, what's your position on Northern Ireland in the UK? Obviously, we're for the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and we're very much supportive of that. That should go without saying. PBC says, good morning, Alistair. It was lovely to meet you at the weekend, and it was good to see you also, PBC. And PBC has an interesting profile there. It says, it's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. Mark Twain. I think you'll find it is Ibrox Park that is your friend. As PBC has made themselves known, and apparently lots of people understand who PBC is, including John there. Richard Spears disagrees that the UK is a force for good. Well, we're not saying the UK has always done the right thing, but generally speaking we have, and we have to hold ourselves to a high standard and seek to do better. That's the thing, not to tear down, but always to try to seek to do better where we have not done so well. Now, who is the winner? Who is the winner of the pens? And gosh, a lot of people have come in there, and with the correct answer. We asked who on this day invented Johnston's, no, he didn't, he died on this day, but he was the inventor of Johnston's fluid beef. And we do have a winner. We asked, what is Johnston's fluid beef known as today? That's what we asked. That was the question. And it's when I have to write and think and talk at the same time, it can sometimes be a little bit awkward. But I'm going to type in who is the winner here. And Johnston's fluid beef is today better known, thankfully, as Bovril. And lots of people had the right answer, but you know who was first on the button? It was the great Robert Cairns. Well done, Robert. Well done, Robert. 3 of these pens will be winging their way to you today. That we postbox kind of unscrew or screw in, depending whether you want it there or not. But great wee pens. 3 of them coming your way this afternoon. I'm pleased to say, Robert, congratulations. Hope you and the family are all doing well. Yes. Debbie says, congratulations, Robert, as does Richard. And Ibrox Park says, well done, Robert. And PBC, good to see PBC, says, good job, Robert. And Tommy as well says, congratulations, Robert. As does Alan as well. Now, folks, remember, you've got 10% off our t-shirt and hoodie store until Monday as part of our Black Friday sale, and that starts now, and the promo code is AFFG 2021, and you put that in. That's the final thing they put in at the shopping cart. And also remember, if you are a union supporter, you can claim absolutely free one of these. Just send us a Facebook message or direct message or email. You can claim a free pack of 5 of these, wishing you a glorious British Christmas, all the monarchs since the glorious revolution. If you're a union supporter, you can claim that free. And also next week, you'll be able to claim free as well our 40-page magazine. Being a union supporter has a lot of benefits to it, so please do consider becoming one if you're not already. It's a great way to support a force for good. So, folks, it's been a blast today. I've really enjoyed it. We will be back next week and we'll tell you all about our forthcoming Union Telethon and our forthcoming Yule Britannia crowdfunder and all that sort of stuff. In the meantime, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been on TikTok. The lovers and the haters on TikTok, we appreciate you all. We like you all. We think you're great. And Ali says, looking forward to seeing you live next week. Cheers, Ali. Looking forward to talking to you as well. Derry B. Hoy says he was born in Hong Kong. Absolutely was. Derek B. Hoy. I was born in Hong Kong to a British Army family that were based out there at the time, at the sunset of the British Empire, you might say. So thank you for having retained that knowledge, Derek B. Hoy. Stop at McClellan says good stuff, and Alan says have a good day. So great. Love you guys on TikTok, and thank you to everybody who's been commenting on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. And you know what? We're going to see you next week. So it just remains for me to say, as always, God bless the United Kingdom and God save the Queen. See you next week.